The moment it rolls into frame, everything else around it starts to feel ordinary. A towering box of steel, authority, and legend. The 2026 Mercedes G-Wagon doesn't just show up, it arrives. This is the SUV people dream about, the one celebrities swear by, and the one off-road purists quietly respect, because beneath that polished luxury shell lies a machine with real military DNA. Triple locking differentials, a ladder frame chassis, a soundtrack that can rattle parking garages, and road presence so massive it practically bends traffic around it. Nothing looks like it. Nothing feels like it. Nothing has survived this long without changing its silhouette for over 4 decades. It's engineered to conquer mountains. It spends most of its life cruising through city streets lined with boutiques and private clubs. And the 2026 model is the most advanced G yet. Smarter screens, improved ride comfort, refined interior materials, modernized software, and an even stronger emphasis on safety and performance. Still, even a global icon has its cracks. Because while the G-Wagon is unmatched in attitude, capability, and status, it's also heavy, thirsty, expensive, and not always the most practical daily companion. Some love it for the drama. Others walk away once they see the real-world numbers. So today, we're breaking through the noise and getting into what truly matters. The 5 biggest pros and the 5 biggest cons of the 2026 Mercedes G-Wagon. The performance, the luxury, the flaws, the costs. Everything you need to know before deciding whether this legend is worth its price or just better admired from a distance. This is Parth, and you are watching MotorNation. Before we jump into today's video, here's something every true car enthusiast will love. Our official website, MotorNationGroup.com. It's your go-to destination for everything automotive, from the latest car launches and industry news to detailed reviews, performance breakdowns, comparisons, buyer guides, and even insights into future tech shaping the next generation of vehicles. Join the MotorNation community, where passion meets performance and the drive never stops. Now, let's get into the video. All right, let's start with the first big pro, and honestly, the reason the G-Wagon became a legend in the first place. Its iconic off-road capability. The 2026 model may look polished and luxurious, but underneath that shiny paint, it's still built like something meant to survive a war zone. You still get the holy trio of off-road weapons. 3 fully locking differentials, front, center, and rear. And these aren't marketing gimmicks. When all 3 lock up, each wheel gets the same torque, letting the G-Wagon pull itself out of mud, snow, rocks, or sand where most luxury SUVs simply spin and give up. And then there's the construction. While the rest of the luxury world moved to unibody designs, the G-Class proudly keeps its ladder frame chassis, giving it the kind of rigidity and durability you need when one wheel is climbing a boulder and the other is dangling in the air. It's roughly 20% stiffer than the older generation, which means better stability and better suspension articulation off-road. Ground clearance? You're looking around 9.5 inches. Angles? The kind you expect from a serious trail machine. About 31 degrees of approach, 30 degrees departure, and a 26-degree breakover angle. Numbers that embarrass most luxury SUVs that claim to be adventurous. And if you're planning to cross a flooded trail or get a bit too ambitious after a storm, the G-Wagon pushes through nearly 27.5 inches of water without blinking. Pair that with a 2.93 to 1 low-range ratio, and this thing crawls over obstacles like it's strolling through a mall. Even the off-road electronics have leveled up for 2026. The updated G-Mode now fine-tunes throttle response, diff logic, and gear shifts automatically for rocks, mud, or loose terrain. So while it may look like it belongs outside a 5-star hotel, don't get it twisted. The G-Wagon is still one of the most capable off-road luxury SUVs on the planet, and that heritage hasn't faded one bit. Now let's move on to the next major strength of the 2026 G-Wagon, its seriously potent powertrain lineup, which gives this luxury brute the muscle it deserves. Starting with the standard G550, Mercedes has traded the older V8 for a far more advanced setup. A 3.0-liter turbocharged inline-six paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. This combo produces a strong 443 horsepower and 413 lb-ft of torque. But the real magic comes from the electric assistance. The integrated starter generator can add up to 20 horsepower and 148 lb-ft in short bursts, smoothing out throttle response, filling torque gaps, and giving the G550 a surprisingly sharp launch for something that weighs over 2.6 tons. Acceleration is genuinely impressive. Expect around 5.6 to 5.8 seconds from 0 to 60 miles per hour, quicker than many mid-size crossovers, despite the G's brick-shaped aerodynamics. And because of the hybridization, low-speed drivability is more refined, turbo lag is reduced, and fuel efficiency improves slightly compared to the outgoing V8. But for those who want the full G-Wagon aura, the attitude, the sound, the force, the AMG G63 sits on an entirely different planet. Its hand-built 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 belts out a brutal 577 horsepower and an enormous 627 lb-ft of torque. That torque hits early, around 2,500 revolutions per minute. So when you step on it, you're not just accelerating, you're launching. This thing shoves its way from 0 to 60 in roughly 4.1 seconds, which is borderline insane for a 5,800-pound, square-sided, military-rooted machine. The 2026 model also gets revised turbo calibration, updated cooling channels, and smoother shift from the 9-speed AMG Speed Shift gearbox, allowing quicker downshifts and more aggressive response in Sport Plus and race modes. Top speed? Electronically limited, but with the AMG driver's package, the G63 can stretch to about 149 miles per hour, which is an almost comical number for something shaped like a cube. Both versions run Mercedes' permanent 4MATIC AWD, but the G63 gets a rear-biased torque split for a more playful, performance-tuned feel on-road. Meanwhile, the G550 sticks to a more traditional setup focused on balance and control across all terrains. Bottom line, whether you choose the technologically sophisticated punch of the inline-six hybrid or the unapologetic, thunderous force of the AMG V8, the 2026 G-Wagon backs up its iconic presence with a kind of power that feels worthy of its legend. Moving on to the next big pro, and this is where the G-Wagon reminds you why it sits in that rarefied ultra-luxury space. Its interior and tech experience, which has taken a serious step up for 2026. The moment you open the door, you're greeted by a cabin that feels more like a rolling luxury lounge than an off-road bruiser. Front and center you get dual 12.3-inch screens, one acting as a fully digital instrument cluster, the other is a crisp, fast MBUX infotainment display. And this year's MBUX is smarter, smoother, and features updated graphics, quicker voice commands, and much cleaner menu layouts. But the real party trick is the transparent hood feature, a camera-based system that stitches together a live feed of what's happening directly under the front end. Off-roading becomes almost like playing a video game. You can see the rocks, ruts, and obstacles beneath the bumper, as if the hood had literally vanished. On a vehicle this tall and boxy, that tech isn't just cool, it's practically useful. And because this is a G-Wagon, materials are as premium as it gets. You're surrounded by Napa leather, open-pore wood, real metal trim, and that signature upright dashboard that still reflects the G-Class heritage. Even the grab handle, the one right in front of the passenger, isn't just a design nod. It's there because this thing can still tilt and climb like a proper off-roader. Ambient lighting, ventilated and massaging seats, updated wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and even second-row comfort upgrades for 2026 all round out the package, making the G-Wagon feel every bit like a six-figure luxury machine. In short, the interior isn't just nice. It's a blend of old-school G-Class toughness with modern Mercedes tech, and the result feels both nostalgic and futuristic at the same time. Moving on to the next big advantage. The G-Class delivers genuinely impressive towing strength. One of the strongest practical pros of the 2026 Mercedes-Benz G-Class is its high towing capability. The latest G550 variant continues to uphold the G-Wagon's reputation for brute utility, offering a towing capacity of up to 7,716 pounds. That means it can confidently pull medium-sized campers, dual-axle trailers, boats, or heavy recreational gear without hesitation. This performance comes from the updated 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 and its strong low-end torque, paired with a refined 9G Tronic automatic transmission that keeps the power band steady when hauling loads. Mercedes has also improved the engine cooling, gearbox mapping, and trailer stability systems, so the G-Class remains stable, responsive, and smooth even when towing at its limit. Combined with permanent 4MATIC all-wheel drive, a rigid ladder frame chassis, and optimized towing-specific drive modes, the G-Class offers impressive confidence on open highways, steep inclines, or loose surfaces. Whether you're hauling adventure equipment or transporting heavy cargo, the 2026 G-Class blends genuine pulling power with the luxury and refinement expected from Mercedes. Alright, moving into our next big pro, and this one hits where most luxury SUVs fail: heritage and resale value that almost defies logic. The 2026 G-Class isn't famous just because it looks cool. It's famous because Mercedes has kept its DNA untouched for over 45 years. The shape, the stance, the exposed hinges, even that heavy metal door slam. It all carries a legacy of military-grade toughness that started back in 1979. And in 2026, even with updated tech and hybrid assistance, the soul of the G remains exactly the same. That consistency is a huge reason it has one of the strongest resale values in the luxury segment. While most high-end SUVs, think BMW X7, GLS, Range Rover, drop to 40 to 50% of their original value in 5 years, the G-Class refuses to play that game. A G550 typically retains around 60 to 70% of its value after 5 years, depending on mileage and condition. And the AMG G63? That's the crazy part. Thanks to demand constantly exceeding supply, G63s regularly hold 70% or more of their value in just 3 to 4 years. In previous model cycles, some low-mileage units even sold 10 to 20% above their original MSRP on the used market because customers didn't want to wait on year-long order lists. It's one of the only luxury SUVs where depreciation feels like an optional feature. This is what brand heritage does. The G-Wagon isn't bought for practicality. People buy it because it's iconic, because it's recognizable from a kilometer away, and because owning one sends a message. And that desirability keeps demand high, keeps waiting lists long, and keeps used prices shockingly strong. When you drive a G-Class, you're not just driving an SUV. You're driving a high-value asset with a reputation that holds firm, just like its body-on-frame chassis. All right, let's kick off the cons. And the very first drawback is one G-Wagon owners can't escape: the fuel economy. The 2026 G-Class may have updated tech under the hood, but efficiency is still one of its weakest points. The G550's new 3.0-liter turbo inline-six, paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid system, sounds modern, yet the real numbers tell a different story. Official estimates land at just 17 miles per gallon in the city and 19 miles per gallon on the highway, which is extremely low for a luxury SUV in 2026. In real-world, driving usually dips even lower. Many owners report 14 to 16 miles per gallon combined, while heavier city usage can drop into the 12 to 14 miles per gallon range. The reason is simple. You're pushing nearly 2,700 kilograms, around 5,900 pounds, of box-shaped steel through the air, with full-time 4WD, a body-on-frame chassis, and 3 locking differentials. All that iconic off-road hardware is fantastic for capability, but terrible for efficiency. The aerodynamics don't help either. With a drag coefficient of roughly 0.54, the G-Wagon is one of the least aerodynamic SUVs on the market. Compare that to more modern luxury SUVs sitting closer to 0.33 to 0.36, and you immediately understand why the G-Class burns more fuel at highway speeds. Then there's the fuel tank. At 26.4 gallons, every fill-up is expensive, and you'll be visiting the pump frequently. Depending on premium fuel prices, owners often spend $120 to $150 per fill in the US or 140 to 160 euros across Europe, and that's on a regular basis. So as the very first con, this one hits hard. The G-Wagon delivers unmatched presence, luxury, and capability. But it drinks fuel like a true old-school machine, and nothing about its design tries to hide that. Alright, moving on to the next con, and this one hits even before you start the engine. The G-Wagon's price tag is on an entirely different level. The 2026 G550 begins at roughly $153,900 before destination fees, which already puts it far above most luxury SUVs. But the real cost comes once you start adding the options that most buyers consider essential. Premium paint, interior leather upgrades, the exclusive Napa package, adaptive suspension, and high-end off-road equipment can easily push the G550 to $170,000 or more without even trying. Now, if you're eyeing the AMG G63, that's where things escalate fast. The previous model already sat around $180,000 to $185,000, and with inflation, added tech, and performance upgrades, the 2026 version sits even higher once spec'd. Realistically, most G63 builds end up in the $200,000 to $230,000 range. And that's before you get into personalization through Mercedes' manufacturer program, which can push the price well beyond $250,000 for unique colors and interiors. So yes, this is one of the priciest SUVs you can buy today. You're paying for the heritage, the hand-built components, the off-road ability, the status, and that unmistakable design. But the reality is simple. Owning a G-Wagon is not just a purchase. It's a financial commitment on a supercar level. Now moving on to the next major con. And this one is impossible to hide. The G-Class is extremely heavy and bulky. The 2026 G-Class carries serious mass. The G550 has a curb weight of around 5,845 pounds, while higher spec variants and option-loaded models can climb well past 6,100 pounds. To put that into perspective, it's heavier than many full-size, three-row SUVs and even outweighs some half-ton pickup trucks. And the dimensions don't help either. The G-Class stands at roughly 77 inches tall, with a width of nearly 78 inches and a boxy shape that doesn't taper or slim down anywhere. That upright profile creates a gigantic footprint on the road, making it feel more like maneuvering a military vehicle than a modern luxury SUV. You feel this mass every single time you drive it. In tight city streets or parking structures, the G-Class demands extra attention because it's harder to thread through narrow openings. In quick lane changes or roundabouts, the body weight shifts noticeably, reminding you that this is a ladder frame SUV designed for durability, not agility. Rivals like the BMW X7, Audi Q8, or Range Rover are often 600 to 1,000 pounds lighter, and that difference translates directly to smoother, more controlled handling. That weight also influences efficiency and wear. The brakes work harder, resulting in longer stopping distances compared to lighter luxury SUVs. The steering is heavier, especially at lower speeds. And because it has the aerodynamic profile of a brick, the combination of mass plus drag further affects overall efficiency and driving refinement. So while the G-Class offers unmatched presence and toughness, the downside is clear. Its extreme weight and bulky proportions make everyday driving, especially in tight or urban environments, more challenging than most luxury SUVs in its class. And now, moving on to another major downside. The G-Class is not a cheap machine to live with. Maintenance and running costs are seriously high. Owning a G-Wagon is a premium experience, and the bills remind you of that every single year. Routine servicing for the G550 typically ranges between $600 to $1,200 per visit, depending on the dealer and region. Major services, especially the ones involving drivetrain fluids and differential checks, can easily cross $1,800 to $2,500. Even consumables cost a fortune. A full set of brake pads and rotors on a G-Class can run anywhere from $1,200 to $2,000, thanks to the SUV's massive weight and performance-grade braking system. Tires for the big 20 or 22-inch wheels can cost $350 to $500 per tire, meaning a full replacement can hit $1,600 to $2,400 without blinking. Insurance is another heavy hitter. Because of its high MSRP, powerful engine options, theft risk, and expensive repair costs, annual insurance premiums for a G-Class are often 30% to 50% higher than typical luxury SUVs. In many cities, owners end up paying $2,500 to $4,000 per year just for insurance alone. And when it comes to fuel, the combination of a boxy shape and high curb weight means you'll be visiting the pump more often than you'd like, especially if you drive aggressively or opt for the AMG G63. Put it all together, and the message is clear. The G-Class is not just expensive to buy, it's expensive to keep on the road. From servicing and consumables to insurance and everyday fuel costs, running a G-Wagon demands a budget that matches its luxury badge. And moving on to the next major con. The G-Class may be a luxury icon, but its ride comfort doesn't always feel like one. For all its prestige, the G-Wagon still sticks to an old-school body-on-frame architecture, and that rugged foundation shows up the moment you hit imperfect pavement. The suspension is tuned for off-road articulation and durability, not plush, cloud-like comfort, so you feel more bumps, more vibration, and more of the road texture than you would in unibody luxury SUVs like the GLS, Range Rover, or BMW X7. Its tall, upright profile also works against cabin serenity. That classic military box silhouette catches more wind, so at highway speeds you hear noticeable wind rush around the mirrors and A-pillars. And because of the chunky off-road tires and wide track, road noise creeps into the cabin more than you might expect from a six-figure luxury machine. Even with the updated suspension improvements for 2026, the G-Class still has that firm, slightly busy ride, especially on rough asphalt or expansion joints. The ladder frame layout and off-road hardware limit how much luxury softness Mercedes can dial in without compromising the legendary capability buyers expect. So while the cabin materials are top tier, the ride itself is not as floaty or isolated as other luxury SUVs in this price range. It's part of the G-Wagon's character, but for comfort-focused buyers, it may feel like a compromise you notice every single day. So, what's the final verdict on the 2026 Mercedes G-Class? The G-Wagon is one of those rare machines that mixes old-school toughness with modern luxury in a way no other SUV truly can. If you want unmatched off-road capability, a road presence that turns heads everywhere, a powerful set of engines, and a luxurious cabin with serious tech, the G-Class delivers all that with confidence. It's iconic for a reason, and the 2026 model keeps that legend alive. But at the same time, this SUV isn't pretending to be perfect. It's expensive to buy, expensive to run, it's heavy, it drinks fuel like crazy, and the ride comfort still doesn't match other luxury SUVs in the same price bracket. This is not the vehicle you buy for practicality or efficiency. This is the vehicle you buy because you want a G-Wagon. Nothing else gives you the same feeling. So at the end of the day, The 2026 G-Class is a lifestyle choice, a status symbol, a machine built for people who prioritize presence, performance, and personality over numbers on a spec sheet. If that sounds like you, the G-Wagon is still the king of the luxury off-road world. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the 2026 Mercedes G-Class, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to MotorNation, and drop a comment telling us which SUV you want us to review next. Your support helps us bring more detailed, unbiased automotive videos straight to you. Until next time, drive safe, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.